Hey guys, back. Kind of didn't get as far as I wanted on Friday, so we're going to continue on kind of the middle part of chapter 10 here. I got some jokes, not great ones you're going to say. Okay. How can you tell if you have a dumb dog? It chases parked cars. That would be a dumb dog. What bone will a dog never eat? A trombone. Trombone. Not very good either, right? What should you do if your dog is missing? Check the lost and hound. Lost and hound, not lost and found. You go, those are terrible. And you'd probably be right. Okay, so where we were, again, so let me talk about, so make sure today that today being Monday, that you guys, this is what you need to email to me. The two worksheets were the mole to mole and mass to mole quiz 10.1, and these problems from the book. So if you can scan it and send it to me as a PDF, that would be great. What we're going to work on today, so this is the lesson. We're going to work on assignment 10.2. So these two worksheets are the mass to mass, worksheet 10.3, and mass molecule, worksheet 10.4. So I want to just, again, kind of get you started on this, and then tomorrow in class on Tuesday, we're going to go over this. And this will be due Wednesday. So tomorrow will be just a lot of working problems. But let me put this up, the notes, and then just like a lot of the things that we do in our class, the notes are, we just really need to do problems. Ends up being words. Okay, so these are the notes that I had posted in class at the end of class on Friday. But so we're on point number 4. I'm going to talk about point 5 more in the middle of the week. But in mass to mass conversions, so let's review. So mole to mole will be 1 step. Mass to mole will be 2 steps. Well, now mass to mass or mass to molecule are going to be 3 steps. So the first thing that you got to do is you got to convert to moles. And then we're going to do a mole-mole, and then we're going to convert back to grams. And again, we just need to do some sample problems, and that's what I want to get started on today. If molecules or atoms are a part of the problem, then remember the number that goes with molecules or atoms from chapter 9. 6.022 times 10 to the 23rd goes with that unit in the conversion factor. And again, you're going to convert to moles and go from there. Okay, so what I'm going to be, the handouts I'm going to be working with here then are, so let me show you. Okay, so I'm going to start off and maybe do 2 of this handout, mass to mass. I will tell you on the back here, there's all these problems on the bottom. Cross those out. I want you to do the ones that I've got on the board, so you can cross those out. So we're going to do a couple of that handout. And then in class on Tuesday, we're going to do a couple more, because I know that this is something that takes some time to be able to do it. And then we're going to do this handout, mass to molecules. And I'll probably, again, I'm going to do maybe 1 or 2 off both. And then in class tomorrow, on Tuesday, what I'm going to be doing is I'll be doing more, just working a lot of problems. Okay, and this is, even though it's weird and confusing times, you got to be following along and you got to be doing your stuff. Okay, so I'm going to start off on the handout that says mass to mass. Okay, so let me just kind of walk you through number 1, which I've already worked out for you, but we've got 3P4 plus 10 KClO3 makes 6 P2O5 plus 10 KCl. So there's the balanced equation. One thing you've always got to do in this chapter is make sure that the equation is balanced. And this one, whenever I see coefficients that tells me it's been balanced. Okay, so if I look at what this says, I have 1 gram of P4, and I want to find grams of this. So again, when it's gram to gram, mass to mass, I've got to do 3 steps. So I know it's a 3 to 10 ratio, but that's a mole ratio. So what I've got to do first, so my first step, and I've got it written there, is I've got to convert to moles. If I want to use a 3 to 10 ratio, I've got to convert it into moles. So again, this is something I'm going to say a lot this week. Whatever you start with goes on the bottom. And if it's not in moles, you got to get it into moles. So if it's not in moles, you got to get into moles. Now that it's in moles, now I can use the ratio. So the grams of P4 cancels out. So I'll have 3 moles of P4, 3 coming from here. And on top will be 10 moles of KClO3. So I converted it to moles. And where I got 124 from was I took the mass of phosphorus, 31 times 4 is 124. Okay, so I converted to moles, then I did mole to mole, and then the final step is I'm going to convert it back to grams. So for every 1 mole of KClO3, on top, I'm going to put the grams of KClO3. So I'm going to find the molar mass of KClO3. So if I do that, it's 39.1 plus 35.5 plus 48. So that's KCl and 6 O's. I think I really should be 122.6. I'll just do what I've got there. And that gives me, and really I should have, this should have been 2 sig figs, so 3.3. So if you step back and you look at what I did here, so I was in grams, again, gram to gram, mass to mass, has got to be 3 steps. So the first step I converted to moles, then I did mole to mole, and I converted back to grams. Okay, let me do one more on here. Again, we're going to do a number of these in class tomorrow, but let me do one more. I'll give you the answer to number 3 and 4. You can try those, and then we'll pick up and work more in class on Tuesday. Okay, so there's the balanced equation. Okay, this time, what number of grams of silver? So grams of silver. And I'm starting with 49.1 grams of copper. So I'm going from here to here. And the mole ratio is 1 to 2, but that's a mole ratio. So what I need to do then is, again, if I want to go from grams of copper to grams of silver, it's got to be a 3-step process. So step number 1 is I've got to convert this to moles. So I'm going to look up copper's molar mass, which is 63.5. So what I did in step 1 is I converted to moles. Okay, on the bottom, again, what I start with goes on the bottom, copper. Now that it's in moles, and again, if it's not in moles, you got to get it into moles. Okay, now I'm going to use the ratio. So it's 1 to 2. So for every 1 mole of copper, there's 2 moles of silver. So again, what you start with goes on the bottom. Okay, now that I've got it into moles, my last step is for every 1 mole of silver, silver weighs 107.9. And if you look at this, when it's mass to mass, you're going to have the molar mass or the atomic mass on the bottom in the first step of what you start with, and then in the last step, it's going to go on top. Okay, so now I'm going to calculate this out. So if I calculate this out, 49.1 times 1 times 2 times 107.9, enter, divided by 63.5, 2, 3 sig figs, I get 167. Okay, let me give you the answers for number 3 and 4. And again, we're going to come back and we'll work a bunch of these, and this is not going to be due till Wednesday. The answer to number 3 is 13.3 grams of NaCl. And the answer to number 4 is 22.8 grams of CaCl2. So again, the number one thing you need to get turned into me today is that assignment 10-1. But you can try these, and then in class on Tuesday, we're going to probably work a number more of these problems. Again, make sure on this handout, the one that says mass to mass, these problems on the back down here, you do not have to do those. Okay, and again, this is assignment for Wednesday. Okay, now let's get out the handout that looks like this. Okay, let me do one of these and I'll be done. So now we're going to do the mass to molecule handout. Again, you always got to make sure that the equation is balanced. And whenever there's coefficients, it's balanced. So this one's balanced. So 2s plus 3 O2s makes 2 SO3s. Okay, the question is molecules of O2. So molecules of O2, and I start with 16 grams of S. So I'm going here to here. So again, it's a 2 to 3 ratio. 2 moles of S for 3 moles of O2. But what I need to do first, again, to use that ratio, the first thing I've got to do is I got to get into moles. Again, if it's not in moles, I've got to get it into moles. So again, what I start with goes on the bottom. And if I look up sulfur, sulfur is 32.1. So what I do in step 1 is I got to get it into moles. If it's not in moles, I've got to get it into moles. Now I'm going to do the ratio. So 2 moles of S for 3 moles of O2. Again, what I start with goes on the bottom. So do mole to mole. And then the final thing is now the number, in what I was doing on the other worksheet, I was using the mass. But this time, since it's molecules, go back to chapter 9. Remember the number that goes with molecules is Avogadro's number. Okay, so on my calculator then, I'm going to go, and again, the way I do it is I'm going to multiply everything on top. So 16.0 times 1 times 3 times 6.022 second exponent 23. So I multiply this by this by this by this, and I hit enter, and divided by 32.1, enter, and divided by 2. And what I get there to 3 sig figs is 4.50 times 10 to the 23rd. So when it's mass to mass, it's 3 steps. When it's mass to molecules, it's 3 steps. Okay, the answer to number 2. And then again, we're going to come back on Tuesday in class. We're going to work a bunch of these. So here are molecules of O2. So there's the answer. And again, we'll look at the other answers to these in class on Tuesday. So hopefully that helps a little bit. These problems are definitely need some practice, and I get that. So, okay, guys, I'm going to stop there. Have a good rest of your day. I'll see you guys on Tuesday.